I am a strong believer that education in a scholarly institution really only provides the individual with the basic building blocks that they will need to enter into a field. It is through hands on real life interaction that embodied knowledge is truly learned. When I was done with high school, I went into the fire academy, and it's one of the best academies in the state. It's very hard. I learned a lot. I learned how to be an EMT, learned everything, but it wasn't until I got a job as a firefighter and went out into the field that I realized how little that did for me. I thought coming out of there that I knew everything. Um, but the second I stepped into the field and you're on a call and you've been trained how to do CPR, but now you're doing CPR on somebody in the back of an ambulance going down a windy road at 45 miles an hour, and you're trying to give them proper CPR, and then you find out that they're dead, but you still have to continue CPR because you really only do CPR on a dead person, but there's no coming back, and they're just you continue for about 25 minutes on somebody you know is not going to come back, and they don't train you to do that in a classroom. Those aren't things that you learn. Um, and that becomes part of that second nature to you once you've been around that. Once you've seen somebody die and somebody's died in your hands or under your hands, you really start to develop that second nature, that reaction of what you need to do when the time comes. There was a quote in our reading by Joe Sprague's Retrieving the Research Agenda for Communication Education that didn't sit very well with me. It was, "It is in our classrooms that we ourselves wield the power and manipulate symbols with real consequences of other humans' lives." In my career, um, that's not at all true. It's not in the classroom, it's not in the room where you're training and learning things. It's when you're on scene, when you're really there, that those things you've learned come back. It doesn't really matter if you've pulled a hose line to a door 100 times during training, gone in and put a pretend fire out. When you're on scene and you go in and there's thermal layering, the layering of hot gases that you can't disturb, but you have to spray water and cool the fire down through that. You can learn how to do that in a classroom, but until you actually do that in the field, you won't be able to do it right. You won't really know what to do. You're just guessing. And once you do that over and over again, then you go in and you can say, okay, now I see this level of fire that we have, and I can tell what the conditions are in the room. And those are all things that come with experience on the job, not in the classroom. I would still like to say, however, that the education in the classroom is extremely important for skills under certain conditions. Um, there's one unit of firefighting called your RIC crew, which is your rapid intervention crew. Their only job is to help a downed firefighter. And while that's not a real life experience that we get to have every day and we don't want to have, we still have to practice and prepare for that as much as possible so that when the scenario does happen and everything's chaotic and your mind can't think straight because you have so much adrenaline flowing through you, that's where the education in the classroom comes into play, because you have a general guideline to go and play off of for where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do.